Farmers responded with protests to the EU's measures to combat climate change and the decision to open the market to cheap products from Ukraine. However, anger among the people has been accumulating for a long time. An even greater rebellion may soon arise in Europe. All over Europe, tractors are piling up on the streets. Angry farmers have taken to the streets of many cities, and it seems as if they are willing to go to great lengths to achieve their goals. Of course, only after they rebelled in France did many people think seriously about what was happening, because France has a rebellious spirit more pronounced than the rest of Europe. Yesterday, statements were made by France's two largest farmers' unions calling on the tractor protesters to return home. Kind of quick and useless, isn't it? It looks that way, but that doesn't mean everything will end peacefully. The authorities have announced some measures to reduce tensions, and it seems that the unions are ready to agree to what is offered to them, but the protest is spreading without the knowledge of the unions. The farmers' revolt is increasingly merging with the political movement of opposition parties, especially the right. An example of this is the support of the Alternative for Germany by farmers in Germany. A riot broke out in several countries, and, in addition to France, tractors are marching along the roads of Belgium, Portugal, Greece, Germany, Poland. What was the impetus? Something has clearly caused tension at the level of the entire European Union since farmers almost simultaneously began to actively protest. There really is such a factor, and it's not so difficult to guess what it's about. We have been waiting for such a clash for years, and now we are seeing a reaction to the measures being implemented. Of course, we are talking about the measures of the European Union to combat climate change. These are all seemingly very humane goals for the common good, but farmers are undoubtedly the victims, since the very profession of farming itself is contrary to the idea of stopping climate change. But that's not all. The second serious blow for farmers was the decision of the European Union to open its market wide to cheap products from Ukraine. That is, restrictions were lifted, thanks to which Ukrainian agricultural products poured into the markets of the European Union countries. They did this with the clear goal of helping Ukraine in its fight against Russia. And again, we have before us a supposedly humane goal, although many will probably disagree with this, but again, European farmers are paying the price for good intentions. Critics will say that many farmers in Europe actually live happily, and thanks to government subsidies, that is, taxpayers' money, they received a lot, including equipment and fuel at preferential prices, and managed to build a very profitable business. Therefore, now that they are being deprived of some advantages, they should not be too loudly indignant. It is clear that such arguments will not help to reason with farmers and will most likely even have the opposite effect. After all, those who received the ready-made got used to it and will fight with all their might not to lose their previous advantages, because many of them occupied quite warm places. It is difficult to talk about the status of farmers even in one country, much less at the level of the entire European Union. However, the only thing is certain: no matter how they lived before, the trends are such that life will become worse and harder for them. Many aspects will complicate their life in Europe, including new taxes, green directives, rising costs, and very strong external competition. But with all this, farmers are forced to take a clear position regarding the armed conflict in Ukraine. Will they support the position of the European Union, which is convinced that Ukraine must continue to fight at any cost? Or will they call for speedy peace negotiations so that the armed confrontation stops? If farmers and agricultural workers want to support the general EU line in relations with Kiev but refuse to sacrifice anything for it, then they will be accused of hypocrisy and insufficient solidarity with Ukraine. After all, the fact is that the opportunity to sell agricultural products on the European Union market without previous restrictions certainly helps Ukraine, whose economy is in ruins. However, farmers do not want to become victims of geopolitical games and therefore tend to unite with parties such as, for example, the German Alternative for Germany. Yes, this party has attracted, perhaps, very dangerous subjects into its ranks, but at the same time it is undeniable that this is one of the few parties with such great influence that openly advocates ending the armed conflict through negotiations. Liberals and Greens openly call for fighting.